Salva viva!
Viva!
Dr. Machar viva!
Viva!
Kore viva!
Viva!
Corby viva!
Viva!
Sakatu viva!
Viva!
Dr. Machar viva!
Viva!
Well, the United States has sounded a tough warning against the South Sudanese government. It is saying that the South Sudanese government could be rendered illegitimate if it continues down this road of detaining the first vice president and conducting bombardments against the South Sudanese in different parts of the country. This is coming at a time when the first vice president and his allies, including general in the SPLA-IO, have been under house arrest, and the South Sudanese government has continued its bombardment, aerial bombardment, and assault against the so-called hostile areas and hostile people that are against the South Sudanese government. Well, in this video, I'm going to tell you about that particular report that has been released by the United States and why the United States is saying that this government could be rendered illegitimate because of the detention against the first vice president. Well, this is bona fide. If you haven't subscribed, kindly subscribe and hit that notification button so that when I release something new on the South Sudanese crisis, you get notified as soon as possible. An illegitimate government is a government that doesn't have the full mandate of the people to be in power, to have the authority to lead a particular country. Well, the United States has come out to say that the South Sudanese government would risk to be an illegitimate government because of the actions that have been taken by the government against the opposition in the country, of course led by the first vice president, Riek Machar. But why is the US saying that the government of South Sudan could be illegitimate? Well, the first thing is that the mandate of the government of the day of South Sudan has been given by the revitalized agreement that was signed by Salva Kiir and Dr. Riek Machar Detention. If you know the history of South Sudan very well, the new country attained its independence with the first president, John Garang. Then John Garang unfortunately lost his life in a plane crash. And then shortly after, South Sudan went into a civil war. Now that civil war lasted 5 years, and that civil war only stopped because these two sides, the two major sides that is led by Salva Kiir Mayardit and Riek Machar Detention, came to a table and say that we are going to stop our hostilities. Of course, Salva Kiir leading the SPLM in government, and then we have Riek Machar leading SPLM in opposition. And of course, both of these factions had their own military wings. They say that we are going to put aside our differences and form a government of unity. Now, this government of unity is a shared government, and the power that this government of unity had was by the revitalized agreement that was signed by these two parties. They say that through this agreement, we are going to govern South Sudan. Now, it is that agreement that the United States has quoted, saying that it is possible that if this agreement breaks, then the government of the day will not have that mandate, that legitimacy to continue to call itself the government in authority of South Sudan. While some might argue that the revitalized agreement does not matter who is at the top of this leadership of the parties, because right now we know that there is some kind of chaos in the opposition, perhaps chaos that has been orchestrated by parties outside that political party of the SPLM-IO, because we know that Stephen Parkour has been nominated as the interim chairperson of SPLM-IO. Now, what is the repercussion of that? Stephen Parkour, of course, came with his delegation say that now we are the people who are leading the SPLM-IO and we are ready to have consultations with the government. But Stephen Parkour has been seen as a person who doesn't have the authority, the full authority of SPLM-IO, because SPLM-IO comes as a package. If you have SPLM-IO, you must have the military backing that is SPLA-IO and other factions that comprised or gave power to the first vice president, Dr. Riek Machar. That is something that the interim leader, Stephen Parkour, does not have, to say that he is now the leader of SPLM-IO. And that means that right now, even if Stephen Parkour will have that kind of a talk with the government of the day, he will not have settled the matter in the country. It needs the authority of the leader himself, Dr. Riek Machar Detention, to have a seat with Salva Kiir so that all can be harmonized. And that now produces the gap that is existing in South Sudan right now. Because the first vice president is under house arrest, We have not heard from the first vice president for about a month right now. We don't know what is happening. We don't know exactly what the South Sudanese government is doing to the first vice president. They say that they are conducting investigations. It has been a very long time. A whole month is a very long time for you to conduct investigations. We've not heard even a single word from the wife or the generals that have been under house arrest, and that has caused a lot of jitters. Of course, the first vice president, Dr. Riek Machar, was advised by the SPLA-IO, the military wing of the opposition, that he should not go to stay in the city because the city is fully controlled by the government forces. That meant that Dr. Riek Machar would go to be in the protection of the government, and right now we are seeing that that did not pay off. Him accepting to go to the city was not perhaps the best idea, and right now he's under detention, and it seems as if he's not coming out of that anytime soon. Well, some are arguing that the government of the day does not have the full mandate because if they go back to that particular document that was signed, called the Revitalized Agreement to stop the hostilities, to stop the civil war in South Sudan, it specifically mentioned Dr. Riek Machar Detention as a person who signed to that agreement and not anyone else. It does not specify that the leader of SPLM-IO is the one who signed that agreement. No, it mentions the name of Dr. Riek Machar Detention. That means that the authority is also partly with Dr. Riek Machar Detention in that particular revitalized agreement. It means that without Dr. Riek Machar Detention, feasibly that document will not carry the weight that it carried to stop the hostilities in South Sudan. And what does that mean? If the government was formed because of the revitalized agreement, then the revitalized agreement will break. It will not be in existence. It means that right now the legitimacy of the government will be shaky. That is what the United States is now terming as, if this continues, then the legitimacy of the president of South Sudan will be in question. It means that perhaps there is a need for South Sudan to really hold elections in the country for there to be a full legitimacy of the government of the day. And what is the importance of legitimacy? Well, legitimacy gives that stamp for a government that it is working on behalf of the people of the country. It means that this government, whatever government has been chosen to be legitimate, it means that it is voicing the concerns of the people of the country. If you have a government that is not legitimate, then it means that it is not carrying the full authority of the people of the country. We have had quite a history about illegitimate governments in Africa and elsewhere, people who are serving as presidents and do not carry the voices of the people. Well, I will keep you informed of the latest of what is happening in South Sudan. Keep it bona fide.